Hi everyone, my name is Barb. Welcome to my channel and my crafting room. I'm glad you found me today. Today we are going to talk about knitting. So if you're here for crochet, please just wait a day or two and my crochet version will be out then. But maybe you'd like to stick around and see about my knitting things I've been up to. Welcome if you're a returning viewer. Welcome back. I'm very glad to have you. And if you're a new viewer, welcome. Oh my gosh, so many of you have joined me along my journey here lately, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you returning and new. So welcome to my space. I'm in Ontario, Canada, and I've got lots to share with you today. Beautiful makes, beautiful test knits, beautiful mystery knit along, some things I've already gifted that I have some photos of, but I will talk about those items as well. So if you want to hear all about how this room became, watch my last video. I talk for 6 minutes, short video of why and how I did this beautiful crafting space of mine and my husband's, because he's now a crafter too. All right, so I'm going to put a photo up of my first object that I have to chat about. I had the pleasure of test knitting for Christy Archer Designs, who is a fiber friend of mine, and we did a test knit together for the heel, what is it called, the magic heel socks for Judy at the Autumn Acorn, and we both did that knit together and we chatted a lot. And so when I seen that she had released a new pattern inspired by the magic heel socks, I was like, that I'm on board for, count me in. So I tested the extra large size, and the socks are called Simply Irresistible Socks Worsted, and I used 3.75 millimeter needles, and I did magic loop, and I had 7 stitches per 4 inches for my gauge swatch. So if you're interested in that pattern, check out your gauge. If you hit 7 stitches per 4 inches, that's exactly where I was. When you're testing a pattern, you really, the swatching is part of the whole thing, because you don't want to not test and then knit the socks up. You want to do the whole process. So you want to read the pattern very well, and you want to follow along, and you want to do just as the designer asks. So a gauge swatch is a part of that whole thing. So they learn from it as well as you, I find anyway. So this sock pattern comes in extra small, which is a 6-inch long foot from toe to heel, or all the way up to a size extra large, which is 10.25 inches from toe to heel. If you're like my family, my guys are all size 14, so I would have to modify it, but they like the heel flap, heel turn gusset kind of thing, so I do that for their socks. I use Topsy Farms wool, the 2-ply wool for the socks, and it's a burnt orangey golden color. Beautiful, beautiful Ontario yarn from Ontario Sheep over on Amherst Island. I highly recommend going to check out their website, topsyfarms.ca, I believe. You can Google search it too, but I'll put Topsy Farms down on the Chevron down arrow there. These were wonderful, wonderful socks. Mine to you, you're probably like, Barb, they look like shorties. They were. My mistake. They're not supposed to be. I mean, they're not real tall, long in the leg unless you want them to be. But mine were ridiculously short. I did not read proper. So in the pattern, she has it written to do so many ridges, so you don't have to sit there with a row counter and count how many rows you have of the front of the foot. And I thought that was the amount of rows I should have. So I stopped at whatever, say it was 28 or 30 rows. I stopped at that and it was supposed to be 28 or 30 ridges, garter ridges. So that would have meant that times 2. So it should have been like 60 or, you know, rows instead of just 28 or 30 that I did. My mistake, but they're nice shorty socks. They really are. So the gifter, or the person I gifted them to, really loves them, and they're super squishy. They're lovely. They're great for gift giving because you don't have to know exactly where their heel fits. It goes right in that whole section where the heel is, so you can make that heel section from top right to bottom if you so choose. So that pattern you can find on Christy Archer, yes, on Ravelry. I will put a link in the down bar chevron so that you have it. I really am going to try to edit to make sure I have all the notes that you need for any of the patterns that I show today. So thank you, Christy, for allowing me to test these beautiful socks for you. It was such a joy. She was always there, day or night, when you had a question or anything. She was right there to let you know what the answer was. It was fantastic. What an experience. Thank you so much for great patterns always. Beautiful designer. She also has a podcast. Check out Christy Archer Designs on YouTube. Now my next FO, which is Finished Objects, I forgot to mention that the first time, is for a test knit for a designer that I always test crocheted for. And I loved test crocheting for her. She has groups, like a private message group in Facebook that we chat back and forth and get in ideas, and she's fabulous to test for, like fabulous. And so when I seen that she started knitting, but not just knitting, she started designing, and I was like, I'm on board with that. So I seen her first design and I'm like, count me in. So I said, I'll test the extra large size. So all the prerequisite that you have to do is do a test swatch, and she wants to make sure you can get gauge first. So I went and did gauge, and I got gauge with an 8mm set of knitting needles. So I did 8mm. And it is a beautiful, beautiful sweater. So I'm going to put a photo of me wearing it first here, just for a minute while I talk a little bit about it. Then I'm going to show you it right here, because it shows the details in a photo so much nicer than if I'm just holding it up, right? So this sweater is not out yet, but once it is, I will put in my notes down below the release date, where you could find it, all that information the very minute I find out. It comes in size extra small, which is a 30-inch bust, all the way up to a 5XL. She's very inclusive, which is a 60-inch bust. And I'm sure if you need a larger size than that, she would be totally willing to work with you on something about that. It is called the Crystal Chevron Knit Sweater. I probably already have the name on the screen and the designer name. I used Peyton's Shetland Chunky Tweed number 5 yarn in the colorway Charcoal Tweed. Now it's a yarn that is 72% acrylic, 25% wool, and 3% viscose. I didn't want to have a sweater 100% wool yet. I wanted this one for under my winter coat. So it's warm enough, but not too warm yet. My next sweater will be full wool, so it'll be for like as a spring jacket type thing. So that's going to be my next one. I knitted this in 3.5 days from start to finish, and I had some trouble along the way. I'll tell you why in a little bit. It is a neck down construction. What I did was I went from the neck down to the join under your arms, and I did about 5 or 6 inches under the join. And then I went back for sleeves because I had only 5 balls of the yarn and I wanted to use every last piece of it. So I used a ball for my one sleeve, actually a ball and a little bit, and then a ball and a little bit for my other sleeve because I wanted to make sure it fit the length I wanted it to, and that would determine how much I had left for the body. But then once the sleeves were on, like I keep trying top-down sweaters on as I go. And as I kept trying it on and the sleeves were all on it now, it was pulling my sweater down, the weight with the sleeves. So my bras were hanging out. So it was sitting like shoulder blade to shoulder blade, like really far here on each side. So it was really a wide, almost like a boat neck, but it was not supposed to be. So I knew I had to go back and increase my my brim. Like there was already a brim on it, but it couldn't sit like that. And I definitely was not ripping out 2 sleeves and 3/4 of a body. So what I ended up doing, I'm going to show you the sweater first. So I got 8 millimeters, I got the gauge with, so that's what I used. And then I started with a 22-inch cord for around the neck and increased as I went. Okay, so then I put in, I think I have a 50-inch cord, Chowgu cord that I ordered special, and that way I could keep trying it on as I go and I don't have to worry about my stitches all falling off. And I used every bit of that wool, I tell you. But I got, like I said, I finished the sleeves and everything. I'm going to show it to you before I explain what I did. Here, I know you've been looking at the picture, but here is this beautiful, look at the yoke on that, the lace. This is our first pattern, people. Like, this is our very first knit pattern, knit sweater, very first one. Check out my beautiful sleeves. Just the length I like, where it comes down a little bit on your palm. I love that. And because it's got the little bit of acrylic in it, it's soft, so it's not like scratchy like wool, but it's super warm. I've worn this. We had a really, really cold snap in January, and every time we went out for groceries, every time I went out with the dog, I threw this on to wear outside over my t-shirts because it was super warm. I'm going to show you up close the neck, and maybe you can guess what I did. See, there's a line. You can see the line halfway up the ribbing of the neck. Okay. So what I ended up doing was, because I didn't have a provisional cast on, because there wasn't meant to be one. It was supposed to be just your neck opening, right? I grabbed a set of knitting needles that was smaller than the knitting needles were that I made the whole body. So that was going to bring it in a little. So I cast it on the same amount that were on there at the start. So let's say it was, I'm going to make up a number. Let's say it was 90 stitches were around that whole opening. I picked up 90 all the way around. And I used, instead of the 8 millimeter, I believe I used 6.5 to pick up. And I knit one whole round around. Just knit, because that's going to bring it in a little bit because the size of the needles are smaller. And then I was like, oh, that pulled in a little bit. So I knitted one more row, just plain knit. Then I switched to 5.5 millimeter and I went down even more. And I knit 2 rows like that, or rounds, with the 5.5 millimeter. And it closed it up a bit more. It was still maybe about here. So I did a few, like I did a round of decrease and then a round of plain knit. And I did that 6 times. So I did 3 rounds of decreases, but with a knit row in the middle of them. And that was glorious. So it turned out beautifully. Like you see that little line there, but now it's up on each side of my neck and super cozy, not showing my bra strap. I consider it perfect for me. So if you ever find a pattern that you find the neck and it's so wide open and you're like, oh, I'm going to cast back, but it doesn't have a provisional cast on. Who cares? Just stick the needles on, do a cast on, like put more stitches, like pick the stitches up like you would on the gusset of a sock. It's so super simple, super easy. There's plenty of videos on YouTube showing you how to pick up stitches all around. And what's the worst can happen? You close it up too tight, just pull out the needles, take off a row. You know, it takes a lot of patience. I'm not going to say it does not, but that's how we learn. That's the process for me. That's why I'm a process knitter. I love the process. And I super duper love testing, because not only did I learn a lot from testing this knit sweater, this is my only my third sweater that I knit, and my first one that had lace work, but I learned so much from her, and I believe she learned just as much as I did through the process. Because there was myself and another knitter who we were super duper fast, she was astonished by it. We started these and I was completely done, ends woven in, blocked everything by the 4th day. Like on that 4th night, it was totally, completely done. I'm so glad with the sweater. I love it. It's so squishy, soft. She has another test knit out now, but it has color work, and I really would prefer to have did color work in maybe a hat or something different. That I've did mosaic color work, but I don't think that's the same thing as carrying your yarn all the time. So I need to try something smaller before I jump right into a color work sweater. So, and I think I have a pattern that I want to start to learn a bit of color work. So again, this is the Crystal Chevron Knit Sweater by Kaila Osborn, who is on Ravelry. You could find her also on Facebook on Spring into Fall Designs. Wonderful designer, and highly recommend this sweater. The only thing, I am a chesty woman, and I don't know if she's got around to it yet, but the lace work that's in the part here ends when you separate for sleeves, but because I'm so chesty, I needed an extra, I think it was 15 or 20 rounds. So I wanted another repeat of the lace work, but because the lace work has the increases in it, I didn't need to increase anymore, but I didn't know the math to do another set of the lace work. So I have the same amount of lace work as the smaller sizes do, but I have a lot more depth in my sweater without the lace work in it. Sorry if I confused you there. Just another pattern repeat I would have liked underneath around my bust area, but you can't really notice it too much anyway with the black, but it's beautiful. Thank you, Kaila, for allowing me to have the honor to test your very first test knit. My next is also a test knit. It's a hat. I'm going to show it to you right away. It is called the Wavelength hat. I think I blocked it too much. Oh, maybe not. I'll scoot up a little bit here. I hope you can see that all right. I'll stick a photo here on the side so you can see it as I chat about it as well. It's for the designer I just love. I've tested a few things for her now. Tina Say Knits. I'll put her name on the screen. She has a website where you can buy her patterns from. She's not on Ravelry. Also, she has Instagram if you're interested in that. I tested the size 2, which I believe was an adult medium. It is 6.5 millimeter knitting needles in the round. So I used 16 inch after I got so far. Oh no, I guess I started with 6 and then I switched to DPNs at the top because you work from the brim to the top of the hat. One skein of the normal color, not the normal color, one skein of the main color of Alina wool that I used in natural. It's a worsted weight wool. And then I used a bit of this oddball blue color of wool that I had kicking around also. It's already blocked, like I said. All I did was I have a foam head and I blocked it, like I washed it and everything and put it on the foam head, and it fits wonderfully. My mom tried it on and she was super shocked how light the wool was. She's like, it looks so heavy because it's chunky and it's wool, but she put it on, she went, that's a really nice light feeling hat. But I said, but it would keep you super warm because it's 100% wool. Beautiful. When I blocked it though, of course I didn't agitate it a lot because I didn't want it to felt either, right? So I was super excited to test knit another one of Tina Say's patterns. Now when you test knit for her, she gives you that pattern for free, plus you get your choice of another pattern for yourself, or you can gift it to someone else that you know. But I found a pattern for a future sweater that I wanted to knit. So I was like, that's what I want to knit within the next year. So I will take that pattern, please. Thank you so much for all you do, Tina. My next one is also a test knit, and I test knitted this, the Ursula shawl, by Rhyflower Knits, who is Melinda, a beautiful, beautiful knitwear designer. There was the size small or the size large that she asked for testers. And I had this beautiful yarn that I had hand dyed myself. And I called it Purple Freckles. And it was 2 skeins, and the size large called for 2 skeins. So I'm like, that's perfect. So it is on Facebook. It's available now on Ravelry, not Facebook. It's on Ravelry. Totally a lovely, lovely pattern. So it has a chart. It has written words as well, the pattern. And oh, sorry, this is called, my yarn's called Favorite Freckles. That's the color that I decided on. The small size of the shawl is 72 inches and the large size is 84 inches. Using fingering weight yarn, I used 2 skeins completely, 910 yards, on 4mm needles and a 40-inch cord. So here it is in all its glory. I gotta see right from wrong side. Almost too big to show in the whole screen. It's got a little hang over there. I will put up a picture after I'm done showing it on here so that you can see. This blocked out so beautifully, opened up the lace so nice. I had a blast with the lace work on this. I am not a lace person. It took me a long time to figure out that it was a pattern that I actually can use stitch markers. So when you're doing a pattern and it doesn't specifically say stitch markers for like a repeat section, test it out. Just put them where you think the repeats are and then see, because chances are it might be a total repeat. That's what I did, and it took me like I don't know how many times I ripped back. 2 weeks I kept ripping back, and then I was so frustrated with it. Then I realized, it clicked in my head, I wonder if there's a repeat, and there was. And from then on, because it kept getting larger, and if somebody phoned me or something in the middle, then I would be losing track of where I was, and I didn't know how to read my stitches very well for lace. But now I know how to do it when it's only like whatever 15 stitch repeat or something. So it started off in this corner, I believe. Yeah. Started off in this corner and it worked itself out, and then this was the last part here. So here is the stitches. I guess they're like this when I'm knitting them, and then there's the bottom lace stitches. And because I so this is my own hand-dyed yarn also, and because I only used 2 skeins, there was only 4 ends to weave in at the end of it. Super. So when I block something, I block it, I leave my ends, then I weave them and cut them. Or I weave them in, sorry. I don't cut my ends until after it's blocked. I do weave them in, but I block it and then I cut them off afterwards. So I'll put up a picture here of it laying on the floor. Just keep in mind that it looks so small, but it is not small at all. It's a large, large shawl. I'm not one to really know how to wear shawls. I don't, there we go. It is super duper lovely. Just love it. I mean, I could wear it in the spring once I'm wearing, you know, it's super light feeling because the lace is just so open. Oh, it's beautiful. Feels super soft, my yarn as well. It was such a pleasure to knit. I'm not sure I'm going to do any more lace work in the near future. That was a trying for my brain. When I offered, I'm like, I like learning when I test things. And that's the whole reason I like to test, is because I like learning stuff. But I keep saying to my friend Gina, I don't like lace. I don't like lace. I don't like lace. And she loves lace shawls, loves them. And now I know why. It's because of my headache situation and the thinking. It's just, it's beautiful. It's not that I don't like the look of lace. It's that it's for myself. I like just knitting because I'm usually just watching TV, watching podcasts, and I'm not focused enough for lace work. But, oh, I admire lace though. Maybe, we'll see. It also, you know, I've got 3 things with lace work today alone, so maybe my next one will be socks lace work. That would be totally doable, right? So again, that's the Ursula shawl. You can find that on Ravelry already today, and by Rhyflower Knits. She's a wonderful designer. She's also got a YouTube channel. Go check her out. She's also on Instagram. Thank you, Melinda, for allowing me to have the honor of testing for you also. I really loved every minute of it. Kind of. Once I knew. It was all my fault why I wasn't enjoying it at first. It was my own thing to do with lace, but now the intimidation is over with, and I think now I can do more, because you'll see with the mystery knit along, I did a lot of lace work. That's to follow. My next one was the mystery knit along. I didn't start this one till later because I wanted to be able to put it in for the shawl along with the girls at We Share Needles. So I waited, I think it was 8 or 9 days after. So I was already behind, but I didn't realize how much work it was going to be. What you needed to start, they had a DK version and a fingering weight. So the fingering weight is what I did. You needed 2 main skeins of the fingering of a color, and you needed 3 minis. I used 5 minis. So off the start, I knew I was having 5 right from the first clue. I didn't know how I was going to change up when they had 3 and I had 5, but I just went with it. I'm like, I'm just going to do something different. I don't know what's going to be different about it. So I used the beautiful, beautiful yarn that was gifted to me for my birthday last year from my friend Brianna, and it was Yarn Bee Authentic Hand Dyed Tonal in the color Beetroot. I knew that one day I was going to have just the perfect thing that I wanted to make with that yarn, something special, and this was it. I was like, I don't know what the shawl looks like, but I knew I wanted it to be a shawl. I knew I wanted to use up every inch of that beautiful yarn, and I knew I wanted it to be something that I could snuggle with. So the shawl, perfect. And my minis that I hand dyed myself is what I used, except for one. There was a green one that I just used looped and thread wool-like, because I liked the color of it. So there's a green in there that's not hand dyed by me, but the rest of the minis I dyed myself. I'm so silly, I forgot to write down the needles that you use for it. I want to say it was 3.5 millimeter needles. And the clues came out every Saturday in January, and there was five Saturdays in January. But as I said, I waited until 8 or 9 days later to start so that I can have it, because there was no whips allowed for that other make along. And yeah, oh, 3.5, I found it. I use Addies, and my Addies interchangeable. It's blocked and ready for your viewing pleasure. I will stick a photo up after I'm done showing you here so that you can see it massive laid across. I blocked it in my mom's house over her pool table. I had boards all across, and it blocked over 10 feet long. So you can imagine. So the first week's clue started with this lace work down here. Where we go, here we go. So there's the first clue, was the lace work, and also this part. So you can see how I easily put 5 colors instead of 3 in for that week's clue. And then the next week's clue was this section, which I easily made 5 from 3. And then this section with all the colors. Okay, and then we switched. So after the third week, we switched and we started from the other side of the shawl, which the first section of the shawl was all lace work the first week. It took me 6 times of ripping out and back and back and back. I struggled with that pattern so badly. I kept messing up so bad. And then at week 3 or 4, I had to do another one. It was week 4. I had to do another whole section 1, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I struggled with that the first time. Here I have to do it a second time. And this section, all these sections were in 1 week. So week 4. And then this section, and this section. Wait, oh, I should have this out here, this section here. And then week 5 was doing the middle part, the triangle. So basically we had this part was the first week, this whole length. Okay, that was the first week. This whole week length was the 4th week. And then the 5th week we had to join them. So you start here. It's kind of like the vertices unite, where you start joining your pieces. So we had this one laying one way, this one laying one way, and then you had to do this triangle and add the pieces as you went. You let your creativity run wild for this part. So whatever colors of yarn you had left, you threw in this triangle. So I knew I wanted to have the beetroot that was gifted to me on the outside, like the top here at the end, and I barely had any left, so I just did the tip of the triangle with the beetroot and the end, and then I used all my minis in the middle part. Oh yes, this red comes from Turtle Pearl. It's a mini that was gifted to me by Gina over at the Knitting Turnpike. So I tried it in socks, and I found it a little on the light side for socks, so I used it in my shawl, and I love that I did, because I get so much beautiful yarns that mean a lot to me. So yep, this is over 10 feet. I don't even know how to wear it. It is so long. I mean, you could wear it as a scarf, I suppose. Yeah, it's very, very long. You can just wrap it like this. I think Jamie at Cozy Up Knits just does this through the loop and then has it long like this. She did a DK one and a worsted weight one as well. So they're just difference, I guess, of rows, how many rows you did of everything. So mine was probably a lot longer than most because I did 5 colors in each section. So probably added on a good 2 feet of length than everybody else's. But I'll include a photo here. I'll put it probably above because it's such a large piece for you to see how big it is. And admire that for a second while I fold this. Oh my goodness. You could almost use this at the bottom of your bed as a runner on the bottom of your bed or something over a quilt. It would be beautiful also. My next pattern that I knit up was a gift knit for my mom. You all probably, if you've seen my last knit version, it was a whip back then. It's the Dotty pullover from Yay for Yarn on YouTube. I watched her video. I made my mom a green one for Christmas 2020 and she loved it so much she requested another one for 2021 Christmas because she wore it a lot. So we went to Ottawa and we bought a package deal of the Payton's, what's it called? Payton's Lincoln Fog in the color Pool. And it's a bulky weight 5 yarn, 30% wool, 70% I believe acrylic. I used 8mm needles. I did the size large for her. And I didn't follow the pattern. The pattern calls for, like, let's say knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, or it has a pattern in the body, but I basically just knit around instead. I followed everything else except I just did knitting instead of the pattern for the body. Everything else was the same. The only other thing I changed was the length of the body. The pattern called for the size large to stop at 19.5 inches, then do the brim or the trim. But my mom wanted it for over leggings, so she wanted it longer. So I went to I went to 23 inches, so I did 3 inches longer. My mom's also a bit taller. Like, I'm taller than her now, but I think she's 5'5.5", around there. So she's still on the taller spectrum, right, for a lady, I think. But she wanted it longer to cover her part of her bum for when she's wearing her leggings. Yeah. I love this pattern. When I did the trim, I do knit, when I'm doing the ribbing, I do in the back loop only. I find it pops a lot nicer, so that's what I did with that. Made the sleeves a lot longer than the pattern calls for. I did a slower decrease, so it's a little bit puffier of arms. I'm including a photo somewhere here. Editing Barb, put the photos in. I've did this pattern 3 times now for this from the video and really enjoy it. It's a great video. If you were to screenshot the pattern, print it out, it's like 25 pages or something like that. So you're best off just to go through and write your own notes because it's actually very quick to write out, but it takes up a lot of ink to print out the whole entire pattern. But Mom loves it. It looks great on her. I marked the front from the back. All I do is I take about an 8-inch piece of the exact same yarn that I'm using and I slip it through with a crochet hook, 1 stitch on the back, and tie a bow and double knot that bow so when she washes it, because it's washable, that she'll know the front from the back super easily. Easy peasy. That was my mom's sweater that's called Dotty Pullover from Yay for Yarn on YouTube. My next project is, I've got 3 more, but 2 are the same, just different colors, is my socks that you would have seen if you watched my last knit version as well. These were whips, but these are now finished. These are socks for me. I actually get to wear them now. I've had them done for 2 months and have not even put them on my feet. They've been sitting there and I'm like, I want to wear those so badly this winter. They're made with Croy Sock FX. Oh no, not FX. Just 1 second. It's not the FX. It's just Peyton's Croy 4-ply in mulberry stripes. My mom's socks were the FX that I made her for Christmas, that I had shown you on a previous podcast. So I take a size ladies 10. So I do like a large, extra large version. I use 2.25 millimeter knitting needles. I do magic loop most of the time, heel flap and a gusset. I do a 20 round cuff, 1x1 ribbing. Actually, I did 2x2 ribbing on this one. I do 35 round leg because I have such large feet. If I don't, I run out of yarn by the toe, and then I'm having to break into a 3rd ball. So to keep it to 1 ball per pair, I have to do it somewhat short of a leg, unfortunately. I like them longer, but for the sake of having enough yarn and not needing another $10 ball, I do the 35 inch or 35 round leg. Then after I do the gusset, and after the gusset I do 45 more rounds of just straight knit. It's because they're vanilla. And then I do the normal decrease toe that you do. So these are for myself. Can't wait to wear those. Yippee. Then my last one, I'll just make sure I set everything for those. Yep. On my last 2 projects, they're both the same, but just different colors. I wanted to do some DK weight socks. I wanted to get them in for, meanwhile at the castle, they had a Crazy Toes cal, and I didn't get them in on time. So I'm just going to put them in for knits and pieces for their year-long socks, of course. And I wanted to try DK weight socks anyway. So what I first did, this was my first pair. I used Peyton's Beehive Baby number 3 DK weight sock. They're gray and white. I don't know if you'll see, it's so bright in here. The brightness sometimes is not good because it blows out a little bit, but they're beautiful gray, white marled yarn. They are 70% acrylic and 30% wool. No, I take that back. 70% acrylic, 30% nylon. So it's actually an acrylic sock yarn, these ones. So that's why I loved it. It's like, I'm going to try those because they'll be great for a summer sock. They won't be super as warm. They could be like a slipper sock kind of thing. So this is, the colorway is called Baby Gray. I used 3.25 millimeter knitting needles. I did 56 stitches because I have a wider foot or ankle. They swell the odd time. 15 round cuff, by 1x1 rib. This one I did 1x1 rib. 35 rounds for the leg. Here I did a heel flap and her gusset. Then I did 28 rounds. No, scratch that. I did 25 rounds to the toe decreases, and then I decrease for my toe. So easy math for me now that I know. I kept trying them on. Now that I have the formula, as long as I'm getting the same gauge with another yarn, I can play with that. So those are my first pair ever of DK socks. Can't wait to get those on my feet. Then I thought I got some yarn in from the knitting loft that I ordered way back in December. I still have to get the video put up. I did record the video of that and the video of my Christmas cards and things I got in as Happy Mail. I have to edit that and put that up as well. So I apologize for the lateness for that. Yeah, I won't even get started about why I'm so long. But here's my second pair, and I wanted to get a Christmas pair done. These ones are using Barocco Vintage DK number 3 weight yarn. I used a 3.25 millimeter knitting needles for these. This yarn's a little bit chunkier than this stuff. So next time I use Barocco Vintage, future Barb, if you're watching, use maybe a 2.75 or 3 millimeter even knitting needles so that it's tighter. These are going to fit more like slipper socks, which is totally fine. Totally fine for in the house anyway. I do have a ball. So I did the opposite so that I have 2 balls of each color. So now I have enough to do the main sock is another pair. The main sock is red, and then the heel toes cuffs in the green. So it is, what's the make of this? It's 52% acrylic, 40% wool, 8% nylon. And they're 50-gram balls. So I'm going to be cutting it really close to having enough for the second pair, I think. I think I'm like 2 ounces off in my math. So I might have to decrease part of my leg or something on the next pair or the cuff for the green, because I'm going to be pretty tight. These would be great too as stockings, don't you think? Great little stockings for even my dog and my cat. But I can't wait to wear these. They'll be for me for Christmas. My Christmas socks to go with my Christmas leggings, my Christmas dresses, that kind of idea. And all the formula, I did the exact same for those. So the 15 rounds, and then the 35 round leg, heel flap, turn, gusset, and then the 25 rounds till the toe decreases. Only thing I forgot a little bit, I think I was 6 rows in before I remembered to change color for the toes. But it's lucky thing I did, because I'm running really short on the green for the heels, toes, cuffs for my next pair. So it's a good thing that, no, I guess not. That's probably why, is because I forgot to change to the red. That's why I have extra red. Oh well, I'll figure it out. I will figure it out for my next pair. So there's the, beautiful. Can't wait to wear them. I'm not rushing the summer though, don't get me wrong. So everyone, that was my finished objects for my knitting. I hope I didn't keep you too long. I did it in sections, so I'm not quite sure how long total it is. My camera only records little bits at a time. So now I have to edit and upload it, and then I'm going to record my whips and my crochet ones and all that fun stuff. So I hope you've got inspired or anything like that. Just enjoyed seeing what I had. If you have any questions, if I forgot anything, if you have anything more to add, any tips for me, I'd appreciate them. I'm still learning. There's so much to learn out there. Let me know. I didn't want to babble too much about each project. There's lots of things I learned, but I'll save those things for more as have more time, when I have maybe less projects to show you all. So have a wonderful day, whatever you're doing, or night or weekend. I don't know when this is going up, but I hope it finds you well. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to chatting with you all at all the places. Take care, all my fiber friends. Until next time, be well, be healthy. Bye for now. Love you all. Hi everyone, welcome to Knottyyarnies. My name is Barb. I'm glad you found me today. That kind of sounded like a song. I am by no means a musician.